What's up, y'all? This video is a reflection on an event that happens in the TV show The Expanse that I wanted to talk about. Now, it's a great sci-fi show on Amazon Prime, one of my favorites. Very well made, very well written. All the characters are pretty interesting. And I wanted to introduce the show to my wife, so I watched it for the second time. Now, this video is not meant to throw shade on the show. It's a great show. But there's one particular event that happens in, I think, maybe season 2 or 3 that I wanted to talk about. It's a great time to reflect on the spirit of the age through this event that happens in the show. By the way, this video is going to have spoilers, so if you plan on watching the show or you haven't seen it yet, I would stop now. Don't watch this video because this is a pretty important plot point that happens. So there you go. There's your warning. Somewhere in season 2 or 3, Naomi Nagata gives the proto-molecule to Fred Johnson. Now, if you know the show, you're familiar with the politics and the development of the story, you know that that's considered a bad thing by all the other characters, right? So when she does that, or at least when she confesses that she does that to the crew, they practically all turn on her for, an episode or two. Can't remember how long it takes, but they're all angry with her. They're all upset with her, particularly James Holden, who has, this romantic relationship with Naomi. Now, within like an episode or two, I can't remember the exact timeline, but Holden goes from being angry with her to reconciling his anger with her, and he confronts her and basically tells her that, after thinking a lot about it and dwelling on it, he is no longer angry with her because he realizes, this is a paraphrase, but he says, "I know that you were just doing what you think is right." That's what he says. So this video is a reflection on that statement in particular, on that idea in particular. I want to talk about that concept of doing what you think is right because it's a very pervasive mentality in our 21st century modernist era, especially in terms of moral relativism, right? So everything is based on a matter of perspective. It's a rejection of the absolute truth of the world. And it's not just this show that's guilty in this particular episode, but it's pervasive in all kinds of media, video games, movies, TV shows. Just think of all the villains in movies that are given sympathetic backstories or tragic backstories that make us sympathetic with the villain, rather than just having villains that are evil for their own sake or evil by nature. Ultimately, it's a deconstruction of the concept of evil. And ultimately, it's a deconstruction of the concept of good. And when you deconstruct those concepts of good and evil, what you're left with is a bunch of characters that are just meandering in essentially a chaotic vortex of just doing what each individual thinks is right. And each individual has a different concept of what is right based on their personalities, their backgrounds. So there's no unifying concept of good and evil or what is right. There's no unifying concept of what is right and what is wrong. It's ultimately a de-evolution into chaos, because that's how the secularist modernist views the world, as essentially a bowl of chaos. And that is a tell that this worldview is satanic, because who is the arbiter and agent of chaos? God is the one that brings out order out of chaos, as made clearly evident in Genesis in the creation story, as essentially the antagonist of God, Satan, not in terms of equal power, but as in terms of objective, attempts to undo the ordering of God and lead everything back into that chaos, right? So that's his objective, him and his servants, is to create more chaos and to destroy order. So writers that adopt this relativistic mindset and create art and stories around it are, for the most part, unconsciously, but in many cases consciously, acting as agents of chaos and by extension, agents of the evil one. When you accept the premise of moral relativism, good and evil does not magically cease to exist. The modernist falsely interprets good and evil as social constructs, when the case is truly that good and evil are actually fundamental aspects of reality. And as such, despite acting in a perceived agency through their individual lens of the world, they still act as agents for good or for evil, for order or for chaos. And as is the case with unconsciously, without knowing, they tend to be manipulated ultimately by the evil one and act as agents towards chaos, towards evil, out of ignorance. Doing what you think is right is wrong, because it is a rejection of the absolute truth of reality, in that there is a right way to be, and that it's not just a matter of perspective, of your individual professed beliefs, of your individual backgrounds and individual tendencies. This right way to be is laid out in the personhood of Christ. An Orthodox Christian doesn't think what is the right thing to do. They already know what it is based on the example laid out by Christ and by the saints, and through the instruction of the church and the guidance of the Holy Spirit. As Christ said, He is the way. He is the way of righteousness, the way of truth. We struggle towards following the golden path and adopting the minds of the saints of the church, who have achieved the state of emptying themselves and being filled up by Christ. As St. Paul says, it is no longer me, but Christ who lives within me. It's not a matter of relative perspective. We don't do what we think is right, we do what is right, as shown to us by Christ and by the holy saints. Through the guidance of the Holy Spirit, we struggle against our passions, against our fallen nature, and against the suggestions and influence of the evil one. Anyways, that's it for this video. Peace.